A lot of people had a lot of questions after the Tyson-Paul fight, and yes, we've heard all of the theories out there. Mike Tyson didn't look anywhere near as good in the ring as he did during those training videos, and a lot of folks had to wonder if maybe there was a bit of an exhibition going on more so than a real match. That all is possible, but one of the biggest complaints of the weekend was the fact that so many viewers out there trying to live stream the event were having a lot of trouble doing so, as Netflix seemed ill-prepared for the amount of traffic that the website was going to get. But one thing that Netflix can look back on as a huge success is this. Over 60 million households tuned in live on Netflix. And of course, maybe without some of the issues that Netflix was having with capacity for delivery, that number may have even been sharply higher. I think this was a big test run for Netflix's future endeavors into live event and live sports, especially streaming. We've got a few things that we need to talk about here. Renegade Online.
A theory, Netflix produced a scripted flight to test out how their network could handle lots of live viewers. Yes. Speaking of the Mike Tyson fight. And
Don't call it a fight.
I know.
Well, a little generous there, sir. A little generous.
We can make some comments on this. Obviously, I think everybody watched it, or most people watched it. Packing to your question, I think you're correct. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that Netflix is moving more into live sporting events. They are going to be live streaming 2 National Football League games here in the U.S. on Christmas Day. They're doing a doubleheader for Christmas this year. The NFL turned it over to them. So they absolutely needed some test runs. So they have set some things up between now and then, beginning with this Mike Tyson situation, leading into that Christmas Day with those NFL games. They've got to know. And look, I think considering that was their first time out, didn't do too bad. Things didn't really get glitchy until the final undercard fight between the 2 ladies, which was a great fight. Things started getting a little goofy there, but they did manage to clean it up relatively quickly. Yeah, I mean,
I think a lot of people gave up, and that's why it was better during the Tyson fight. I think a lot of people just said, "Screw it, I'm not going to sit here and watch a buffering screen anymore. I'm going to bed."
I didn't find it to be that bad, but I don't know if did anybody else watch it?
I had low resolution, low frame rate, buffering, have to exit out, come back in. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, I heard a lot of reports that it was pretty bad for a good number of people. The thing is, though, this is Netflix. They've got insane amounts of money. I have a feeling that they're going to it's not going to be hard for them to buy a couple more servers, basically. I don't know, that's minimalizing what they'll need to do, but they'll just spend the money and get it working so they can support that level of live viewership. It's Netflix.
And they need to, because Disney's going to add ESPN to Disney Plus. So if Netflix doesn't get this right, Disney will.
Yeah, and they need to. And I realized that there were people out there that had issues. I didn't experience them where I was. Now, I've got a super fast internet connection.
I was going to say, you and your triple fiber line with your 6 gigs down and 6 gigs up. Rub it in, big boy. Rub it in.
I mean, look, I had issues. There were issues where it buffered. There was about 20 minutes where it was very choppy on and off, but it was before the fight really began. By the time the fight got going and I was back home on my fiber optic line, I mean, I was pretty good. There were some issues, but it wasn't a catastrophe for me. Some people were saying it was. I don't know if that was the case because they had more of an issue on, for example, like mobile app delivery versus sitting at home watching it on an Apple TV box, like with an actual real internet connection versus a cellular data connection. I don't know. I did think, when I was driving back and forth to pick up Renegade Jr. During the final undercard fight, I did seem to have more problems looking at it on a mobile device than I did when I was home. And maybe that was part of it. I don't know. But Netflix is going to work out the kinks. They're going to get it fixed. I thought they did a pretty good job. I mean, like I said, my situation, I didn't have the issues that I think a lot of people were talking about. But then again, just depending on where they were, that probably had a lot to do with things, how much shared bandwidth they were having with, all their neighbors.
I'll tell you,
Tom's calling you out in the comment section, Valiant. He's saying you must have not read the headlines, that they were in the headlines how bad it was last night.
I mean, I saw some headlines saying that people were having issues. My point is, I didn't experience that degree of issues.
I told you, he's got triple fiber. He's got triple fiber lines in.
I was getting frustrated at a couple of moments there, but I remember by the time the Tyson and Paul fight itself started, the first 2 undercard fights, like the first 2 hours, flawless, absolutely flawless. And halfway through at least the third undercard fight between the 2 ladies, pretty flawless. As far as I had crystal clear 4K live, feed. As we got closer to the Tyson fight, I could see more people were jumping on. There were more bandwidth issues. But at home on my television, I don't think I had more than a 20-second, 30-second, maybe a minute long where I had a buffer. And then you could see Netflix fixed it very quickly. And by the time the actual fight started between Paul and Tyson, it was pretty good.
I'll tell you one thing, when it comes to Jake Paul and trying to get these things, because he's got his own company that does this. It was facilitated through his company. The problem with doing what they did is it's fool me once, shame on you. I don't think people are going to tune in again for something this dumb again, because we were told we were going to get a fight. Instead, what we got was 2 rounds of Tyson be able to swing some punches, but every time he did, they clinched up. No fight happens. And then as soon as Paul got slightly in the lead, then we had 6 rounds of, haha, you can't catch me. And that's no fun to watch. And then you find out later on that there's a contract that says that the longer the fight goes, the more money the 2 guys make. And it's just like, okay, so there was financial incentive for this to go into absolute boredom. So I think this was egg in the face of Netflix, and I hope that they avoid anything like this in the future.
And I agree. Look, I understand that a lot of people had problems. I get it. Like I said, just saying that I experienced some of it, but it wasn't a disaster. And I mean, look, good on Netflix. 60 million households tuned in live.
Well, that thing right there, I think that's what Netflix is going to be paying attention to. Even though they had some issues, they'll be seeing this as a massive success, and they're going to want to try and recapture that. Like, I reckon if they did another Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight, less people would be interested in it. But also, I find people are suckers for the gimmick. And so if there's another kind of gimmick matchup where it's like, oh, so-and-so is going to fight other random person that you didn't expect, people are going to try and show up again. And
Chad, you've inspired me. We need to have Jake Paul versus a semi-truck. It's the ultimate.
See, I'd be interested in that, right?
100 million viewers, Netflix. Have Jake Paul and a semi-truck run at each other, and let's just have at it.
But there are so many matchups that heaps of people would actually be like, all right, it sucked last time, but I got to check it out again, like. Yeah.
Well, and look, this is the thing. This is what they're going for. This was the first time that Netflix has done anything of this scale. And it's difficult to predict, I think, what's actually going to happen. I mean, again, first time they've ever done anything like this. Netflix's live stream of the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight wrestled the attention of 60 million households, peaking at 65 million concurrent per the streamer. And I'm assuming that that's probably on a global scale. Nearly 50 million homes also tuned in for the live co-main event featuring Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. So there you go. We could see what was happening as we got to that final undercard fight between Katie and Amanda. That's when traffic started peaking, and they were like, ooh, we are hitting a wall here. Somebody needs to go flip on banks D, E, and F down there on the servers and increase capacity quickly. But in addition to household viewership, Netflix partnered with Johan Promotions to distribute last night's sports spectacle to more than 6,000 bars and restaurants in the U.S., setting the record for commercial distribution of a combat sport event in the company's over 50-year history. So again,
let me be Mr. Negativo for just 1 second. Mm-hmm. It's great to have 60 million viewers. It's not good to have 50 million of them walk away and say, oh, that sucked.
Right, in terms of what happened with the fight. Yeah. Well,
that and seeing Tyson's butt just out of nowhere.
that was a bit weird.
What happened?
He must have known. He knew what he was wearing, right?
Well, the cameraman should have known and been like, you know what? I don't think those buns are what they're asking for out of the oven here at Netflix.
Yeah, that was so what happened, Michelle, was that wasn't really Tyson's issue, I don't think. I mean, he was just in the locker room getting ready. He had the jock strap on, but he didn't have the trunks on yet. So he had the cup over his stuff, and he had, it's a thong up the butt. And the cameras decided to come in at that point, do an interview like he's walking around. And Tyson's like, I'm getting ready for a fight. He's not thinking. And he turns around, he walks away from the camera, and it's just ass.
And then they tried to quickly zoom in on his head. Move away from the butt.
No. It was yep, we saw Mike Tyson's butt.
And Janet Jackson somewhere said, Really?
Yes, it was a wardrobe malfunction, Janet. The problem was at that point, Justin Timberlake wasn't there ripping the pants off of Mike Tyson like he was Janet's boob. I
think Mike did it on purpose. He knew what he was wearing.
Maybe so. Maybe
wanted
so.
to moon 60 million people. Here's my ass.
I'm 58. I'll do what I want, darn it.
Yeah, it very well could be. I mean, that would not surprise me one bit. But
hey, y'all want to see my buns for a minute?
Oh Lord. Okay.
It's buffering real bad. I'm gonna throw my buns. Get them viewerships up again.
I miss Mike Tyson's Mystery on Cartoon Network. I want that show to come back so bad. That was so good. If you've never seen that show, that was pure joy. It literally was Mike Tyson and like a Scooby-Doo cartoon where they solve mysteries. And it was, I'm serious, one of the most fun. I looked forward to it every week for like a couple of years, 2 or 3 years it was on. It was so much fun.
Scooby-Doo has had some wild crossovers if you go back to the old cartoon. They've had Batman on Scooby-Doo before. And it's just like, all right, sure. You do that, Scooby. And they got around.
It was the Globetrotters, though, that really set the world on fire.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.